Hi everyone, Mira and I are out here in the wide world of nature to talk to you this week about Daoism. Now, you may be wondering, how should I spell it? With a D or with a T? And the answer is, yeah. Now that might be confusing because I didn't give you an answer, but that's Daoism for you. The founder of Daoism, Lao Tzu, is all about answers that aren't really answers, that are just more questions. Because there's no possible way to know all the answers to all the things, and there's no possible way to have fully definite answers. So we're out here in some nature. I'm wearing my wave hat to remind you guys that Daoism is all about going with the flow. And Mira is an example of not Daoism because she is resisting her natural urge to take a nap. So you're gonna watch this video and get all the answers to pretty much all of the questions for the week as we kind of wander through the woods. Now, one thing about Daoism is that when you're learning about it, you shouldn't try too hard or learn about all the little parts too much. Yes, we're supposed to focus on nature. Yes, you're supposed to think about yin and yang, how even the good has a little bit of not so good in it, and even the dark has a little bit of light in it, and that everything has the potential for being hard, being soft, being intense, being gentle. So we came out here to also visit my Taoist friend who pretty much spends most of his time looking at nature, contemplating nature, and letting nature do its thing around him. And he's an excellent example of Taoism and the most important lesson, which is don't do too much and watch nature. Nature will teach you everything that you need to know because it was here before you and it's gonna be here after you. Eventually nature is gonna take over this guy and engulf him, and he will end. But nature and its cycle of birth and rebirth, just like the three main Hindu gods, there's the idea of birth, life, and ending. But in that ending, there is a new rebirth. And this guy's out here patiently waiting for it, knowing that it's gonna come, even as nature starts to grow through his weird little hat. I see someone has succumbed to the natural urge to take a nap. And Taoism is all about going with the flow. Nap when you need to nap, eat when you need to eat, and listen to your inner voice because it will guide you and tell you what you need to do or feel. The legend of Lao Tzu goes that he was riding an ox, leaving the civilization of China, and there were obviously many different kingdoms making up China, so he was leaving the outermost on his way out to live like in the wilderness, essentially banishing himself, just as the Buddha did, going to live in the wilderness, have some time alone to be able to think clearly about his purpose in life and what life also means. And so as he was crossing the last outpost, maybe somewhere along the Great Wall, one of the wall guards said, "Hey, old man on an ox, where are you going?" He told him, and the guard asked for a little bit of wisdom, because, guards also stand by themselves and have a lot of time to look at nature while they're waiting for the Mongols to attack. And Lao Tzu pretty much spoke out this 1,000-line poem that's now called the Tao Te Ching, and it's the collection of his teachings. The Tao Te Ching has a lot of quotes that are my favorite, and you're gonna get to select some quotes on Thursday to be able to explain what they mean for you. So I'll explain a few of what they mean to me. One of the ones that happens in the first few lines is a journey of 1,000 steps begins under your feet. And to me, that means that any undertaking, any journey, any process that you want to start, going to school, starting an assignment, going to college, getting married, trying a new workout routine, reading a book, it begins with one step, and then another step, and another step. And if you can see that life is just a series of small steps, then it makes it feel a little less overwhelming to be home for 3 months, not knowing what to do. Because being home in 3 months is really just a series of small decisions and actions. One of my other favorite quotes from Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching is that nature does not hurry, yet everything gets accomplished. Nature doesn't rush, it doesn't push itself, it doesn't worry about getting something done in time. It just slowly, over time, eventually, patiently, gets it done. And it knows the priorities, and it knows what's important and what's not important. Winter happens, sure, but eventually spring will come. These little flowers will pop, they'll propagate sexually and asexually, I think. They'll spread around, and they'll also help the trees. Most of the land in New England was also clear cut and used for farming and livestock, so animals eating the grass and stuff. A lot of the forests have come back in the past 150 years from like being flat and barren. And like, that's fine. Nature says, I'll wait, I'll come back, and eventually I will take over again. My third and final favorite quote from the Tao Te Ching is the first line or two that says, the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. And that's been translated a lot of ways. Like, if you think you're walking this path, that's not the whole path. It's not the only path. And that makes me think of Hinduism, where, yeah, there are like 330 million gods, but they're all technically part of this one God force, Brahma, and we're never going to fully understand it. Even when you become one with this God force in moksha, you're not like alive to fully understand it, and you can't go back and tell your like other reincarnated lives. And so the best thing about Daoism is that it's confusing. It's hard to understand. It has no traditions. It has no rituals. It has no holidays. It has no list of things to do or not do. There's just about 1,000 lines in the Tao Te Ching, and they're poetry, and they're confusing because so is life and so is the universe. We'll never know exactly everything that we want to know about Earth, or flowers, or love, or courage, or breathing, or a blade of grass. Everything in the world is so complicated and so beyond like our limited human understanding. And Lao Tzu says, yeah, you can try and name everything, you can try and understand everything, you can write all the books you want, but everything's going to bring up more questions, and you will never fully know and understand everything. And if you get frustrated with a roadblock, stop banging your head against that roadblock. Back up, take a second look, and you might see a way around it. People who get disappointed by like not getting in first place or not being the best at something, Lao Tzu would say, maybe you're designed to be better at something else. Maybe you should try a different thing. Because if you try something like that guy in the video who's in third place but doing the Running Man, maybe he would get third place at that contest, but he would get first place at a Running Man competition. I don't know if those exist, but they probably should. final thought on Daoism, to be able to understand Daoism, is to accept that you won't, to go outside, find a piece of nature that lives independent of you and doesn't need you, and look at that, without trying to understand it, just accepting what it is. And then, when you get frustrated about trying to do too much, stop trying to do too much. And you might find that you'll get everything done that you needed to do. Anyways, Mira, any last words? That's it. I let her do her thing and now she's asleep. She'll wake up when she wants to. And then I'll get frustrated about it. And then I'll remember that she's a baby. I can't understand her. I'll never understand her. And I just need to let her be.